Hello everyone, my name is Roshni Gorathe. Today is 23 June and today's video topic is Spring Web. So let's see. The Spring Web Services is the product of Spring community focused on the creating document driver web services. Then the Spring Web Services, its aim to facilitate the contract first services and development and allowing for the creation of flexible web services using one of the many ways to manipulate XML. Then next is the product is based on Spring itself, uh, which means we can use Spring concept such as dependency injection as the integral part of our web services. Then the Spring Web Services project facilitate contract first and SOAP service development provides multiple ways to create flexible and web services which can be manipulate XML payload. Then being Spring based, Spring Web Services use Spring concept like dependency uh, injection and configuration also. Then next is the Spring vs it requires Spring 3.0 version. Spring 3.0 version. Then the started of Spring Web uses a Spring MVC, REST, and a Tomcat as default embedded service. The single Spring Boot starter web dependency pull in all dependencies related to development. It all reduce the build dependency count. Then the Spring Boot embedded web services, in that each Spring Boot application include an embedded services. Then the embedded service is embedded as a part of a deployable application. The advantages of embedded server, it is we do not require a pre-installed server in the environment. Then with the Spring Boot, default embedded server is Tomcat. Then next, using another embedded web server for servlet stack application, the Spring Boot starter web include Tomcat by including a Spring Boot starter Tomcat. But we can use Spring Boot starter Jetty or Spring Boot starter under Tau instead. Then next is a for relative stack application, the Spring Boot starter web flux included reactor by including Spring Boot starter reactor native. But we can use Spring Boot starter Tomcat. The Spring Boot starter Jetty or Spring Boot starter under Tau instead. Then in that also the Spring Boot Jetty or Spring Boot starter under Tau instead of use. Then the Tomcat by including Spring Boot starter Tomcat we can use. In that also for relative stack application, the Spring Boot starter web flux included React and Native by including Spring Boot starter. So that's all about the spring boot. Thank you.